The galaxy held its breath as Ambassador Chen's boots echoed through the grand chamber of the Galactic Assembly. 2,000 species, 5,000 representatives, all silenced by the sound of one human walking. The vast, dome-ceilinged hall, built to accommodate beings from methane breathers to silicon-based hive minds, felt suddenly small. Chen didn't look up as she approached the central podium. Her face betrayed nothing, but the rigid line of her shoulders spoke volumes to those species, adept at reading human body language. Behind her, the other 11 members of the human delegation followed in perfect step, their expressions equally unreadable. Orcs, the Centauri chair of the assembly, stretched his 4 upper limbs in the universal gesture for attention. His iridescent scales flickered anxiously as he activated the translation field. Ambassador Chen of Sol System Earth, you have called for this emergency session. The assembly recognizes humanity's right to address the gathered representatives. Chen finally looked up. Her dark eyes swept across the chamber, meeting the gazes, optical sensors, and sensory appendages of 1,000 different species. For 3 centuries, she began. Her voice amplified and translated into 5,000 languages simultaneously. Humanity has stood with the Galactic Assembly. We have bled in your wars. We have shared our innovations. We have abided by your laws. She paused, letting the words hang in the air. Today that ends. Asoniranger Part 1. Sound of shocked murmurs, clicks, and hisses from the alien representatives. 7 solar systems away, Lieutenant Commander Maya Rodriguez sat in the cockpit of her stealth vessel, watching the proceedings through an encrypted feed. Her ship hovered in the shadow of a small moon, undetectable by assembly sensors. They're really doing it, whispered her co-pilot, Econ. Maya nodded, her throat tight. It's been planned for years, ever since Proxima. On her screen, Ambassador Chen continued addressing the assembly. The chamber had erupted into chaos at her announcement, and the chair was struggling to restore order. Silence. Vorex's voice boomed through the translation field. The human representative has the floor. Chen waited until the chamber quieted. The massacre at Proxima Centauri was the final breach of trust. 6 million human colonists, children among them, dead because the assembly refused to act against the hive incursion. The assembly voted according to established protocol, countered Vorex, his scales now pulsing angry red. We required more evidence before committing peacekeeping forces. Evidence? Chen's composure cracked slightly. We sent you their communications, their battle plans, the biological signatures of their weapons platforms entering our territory. Maya clenched her fist as she watched. She had been the one to discover those plans, had risked everything to steal them from the Hive Queen's personal archive. And the assembly had dismissed them as insufficient. On the screen, Chen pulled out a small device and placed it on the podium. A hologram appeared above it, a rotating image of Earth and its colonies. Humanity formally withdraws from the Galactic Assembly, effective immediately. All human worlds are now closed territory. Any assembly vessels entering our space will be considered hostile. The chamber exploded again. Vorex's amplified voice cut through the noise. This is unprecedented. No species has ever withdrawn. The economic sanctions alone. Chen cut him off. We have prepared for this moment. Earth is self-sufficient. Our colonies can sustain themselves without assembly trade routes. In her cockpit, Maya received an encrypted message. Her eyes widened as she read it. Econ, she said quietly. Launch sequence Alpha now. Her co-pilot looked at her in shock. I know what it is, do it. Throughout human space, hidden installations were powering up. On Earth, on Mars, on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, in the asteroid belt, and on every human colony world, massive shield generators came online. Back in the assembly chamber, Chen's device began to pulse with light. The humans have activated some kind of technology, shouted a representative from the back. Chen nodded calmly. The human shield network is now operational. No ships, signals, or weapons can penetrate our territories without explicit permission. This is madness. Vorik slammed his appendages down. You cannot isolate yourselves from the galaxy. Watch us, Chen replied. Part 2. Sound of alarms and warning beacons. 3 months later, Maya Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of Lunar Base Armstrong, watching Earth through the transparent aluminum viewport. The blue-green planet looked peaceful from here, showing no signs of the turmoil that had followed humanity's withdrawal. Commander, a voice called from behind her. Maya turned to see Dr. Alara Watson, the head of the SHIELD Network project, approaching. The older woman looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. Doctor, Maya acknowledged. How are the shields holding? Better than expected, Alara said, joining her at the viewport. The assembly has tried 17 different methods to penetrate them. All failed. Maya nodded, unsurprised. Humanity had been planning this for years, ever since the first signs of the assembly's corruption had become clear. The SHIELD network was the culmination of decades of secret research. And the other project? Maya asked quietly. Alara glanced around, though they were alone on the deck. Prototype testing begins tomorrow. If it works, she left the sentence hanging. If it worked, humanity wouldn't just be isolated, they would be completely untouchable. Maya's communicator buzzed. Rodriguez, she answered. Commander, you're needed in command. We're picking up something strange at the edge of the system. Within minutes, Maya stood in the heart of Lunar Command, surrounded by holographic displays showing the outer reaches of the solar system. Admiral Hassan, the imposing head of Earth's defense forces, nodded to her as she entered. Rodriguez, your expertise is needed. He gestured to a blinking point of light beyond Neptune's orbit. Assembly ships? Maya asked. No. Hassan replied, grimly. Hive. Maya felt her blood run cold. The Hive, the same collective consciousness that had destroyed Proxima Centauri, was probing Earth's defenses. They're testing us, she said, seeing if the SHIELD network extends to the system boundary. And does it? Hassan asked. Maya exchanged glances with Dr. Watson, who had followed her to command. Theoretically, yes, Alara said cautiously, but we've never faced a sustained Hive attack. Their biotechnology operates on principles we don't fully understand. Hassan turned to Maya. You've encountered them before. What are they planning? Maya studied the displays, watching the movement patterns of the Hive ships. They were probing, testing but not attacking in force. Yet, they're waiting for something, she concluded, or someone. As if responding to her words, a new alert sounded. A transmission was coming through, somehow penetrating the SHIELD network's communications blackout. Put it through, Hassan ordered. A holographic figure materialized in the center of the command room, a tall, elegant alien with crystalline features and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. Maya recognized the species instantly. Arbitrator Zex, Hassan said coldly. The arbitrators were the most ancient species in the assembly, self-appointed guardians of galactic law. They rarely involved themselves directly in conflicts. Admiral Hassan, Zex replied, its voice like wind through crystal. The assembly demands an explanation for your species' actions. Hassan stood straighter. We owe the assembly nothing. We have withdrawn, as is our right. No species has the right to deploy technology that threatens galactic stability, Zex countered. Your SHIELD network disrupts trade routes, communication channels, and the very fabric of interstellar relations. Our shields protect only our territory, Hassan said. They threaten no one. And yet, Zex's eyes narrowed. You have the Hive at your doorstep. Curious timing. Maya stepped forward. Are you suggesting the assembly is working with the Hive now? The same Hive that destroyed Proxima? Zex turned those ancient eyes on her. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, the woman who provided the evidence of Hive aggression. Tell me, did you ever consider that you saw exactly what the Hive wanted you to see? Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What are you saying? The Hive never attacked Proxima Centauri, Zex said simply. Humanity destroyed its own colony. Part 3. Sound of shocked gasps and angry murmurs from the command staff. "That's a lie," Maya said, her voice deadly quiet. "I was there. I saw the aftermath." "You saw destruction," Zex agreed. "But who caused it? The Assembly has been investigating. We've found evidence that suggests a human Black Ops team deployed an experimental weapon at Proxima, a test that went catastrophically wrong." Hassan's face darkened with fury. "Get this creature off my screen," he ordered. Before anyone could cut the transmission, Zex spoke again. "The Assembly offers humanity one chance to return. Deactivate your shield network, submit to investigation, or face the consequences." The hologram vanished. For a moment, the command center was silent. Then Hassan turned to Maya. Opening. Soft background sounds of a massive space station. Low hum, distant mechanical noises. "What do you think, Commander?" "You've studied the Hive more than anyone." Maya hesitated. "The arbitrator is lying about Proxima. I'm certain of that. But..." She paused, organizing her thoughts. "The Hive ships are behaving strangely. They're not attacking. They're positioning themselves like they're preparing to defend against something." "Defend against what?" Hassan asked. "I don't know," Maya admitted, "but I intend to find out." 24 hours later, Maya was back aboard, her stealth vessel with Econ, slipping past the shield network's carefully arranged gaps, openings known only to a select few in human leadership. "This is insane," Econ muttered as they approached the Hive formation. "If they detect us..." "They won't," Maya assured him, though she wasn't as confident as she sounded. "This ship has technology even the Assembly doesn't know about." They edged closer to the Hive vessels, massive organic-looking constructs that pulsed with bioluminescent light. The ships were arranged in a defensive formation, but they weren't facing Earth. They were facing outward, toward deep space. "What are they looking at?" Econ wondered aloud. Maya adjusted their sensors, scanning the empty void beyond the Hive ships. At first, nothing registered. Then, a flicker. A distortion in space-time so subtle that most sensors would miss it entirely. "They're not here for us," Maya realized with dawning horror. "They're running from something." Back on Earth, in a secure facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Ambassador Chen stood before the World Council, the 12 leaders who had made the decision to withdraw from the Assembly. "The arbitrators are lying," Chen insisted. "They're trying to divide us, make us doubt ourselves." "Perhaps," said President Okafor of the African Union. "But what if there's some truth to their claims? What if elements within our own military did conduct unauthorized tests at Proxima?" Chen shook her head. "I've seen all the classified files. Proxima was attacked by the Hive, plain and simple." "All the files you were allowed to see," countered Premier Liu of the East Asian Confederation. "Need I remind you of the Ultra Black projects?" An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. The Ultra Black designation was reserved for projects, so secret that even most of the World Council wasn't briefed on them. "What exactly are you suggesting?" Chen asked carefully. Before Liu could respond, the emergency communication system activated. Admiral Hassan's face appeared on the main screen. "Madam Ambassador, Council members, we have a situation. Commander Rodriguez has discovered something beyond the Hive ships. Something impossible." The screen split to show Maya's transmission from her stealth vessel. "The Hive isn't preparing to attack," Maya reported, her voice tense. "They're forming a defensive line against something coming from deep space. We've detected massive distortions, like nothing we've ever seen before." "What is it?" Chen demanded. "We don't know," Maya admitted. "But whatever it is, the Hive is terrified of it and..." She hesitated. "Ambassador, I'm picking up transmissions between the Hive and the Assembly. They're coordinating. The Assembly knew this was coming. That's why they're so desperate to get us to lower our shields." In the council chamber, realization dawned on Chen's face. They want to use Earth as a buffer. They want whatever's coming to hit us first. Part 4. Ominous low-frequency rumbling sound. Dr. Ilara Watson stood in her laboratory deep beneath Olympus Mons on Mars, surrounded by the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. The prototype sat in the center of the room, a deceptively small device that could change everything. Her assistant, Rai, looked up from his monitoring station. "Doctor, you need to see this." On the main screen, footage from Maya's stealth vessel showed the space beyond the hive ships beginning to tear. There was no other word for it. Reality itself seemed to be coming apart at the seams. "It's happening," Ilara whispered, just as the calculations predicted. "What's happening?" Rai asked, afraid. Ilara's eyes never left the screen. "The collapse of the false vacuum. The beginning of the end." Throughout human space, people watched with a mixture of horror and fascination as the phenomenon spread. Beyond the hive ships, beyond the edge of the solar system, space itself was changing. Weird energies cascaded across the electromagnetic spectrum, laws of physics bent and warped. In the World Council chamber, Ambassador Chen turned to her fellow leaders, her face grim. "Now we know why the Assembly is so desperate. They've known about this incursion for years. They've been tracking its progress across the galaxy, evacuating their own worlds while leaving others as sacrificial lambs." "How do you know this?" President Okafor demanded. Chen's expression was hard. "Because I've spent 3 centuries studying the Assembly, Madam President. Their patterns, their secrets. They've done this before, sacrificed younger species to save themselves. And now they want to sacrifice us," Premier Liu concluded. "Yes." Chen nodded. "But they've miscalculated. They don't know what we've been building." On her stealth vessel, Maya Rodriguez watched in horrified fascination as the spatial anomaly grew larger. The hive ships were breaking formation now, some fleeing, others being pulled into the distortion and changing, transforming into something else. "We need to get out of here," Econ urged. "Right now." Maya couldn't argue. She fired up the engines, plotting a course back to Earth. As they turned, her sensors picked up new contacts, assembly warships dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. "They're coming in force," she reported to Lunar Command. "At least 30 capital ships." Admiral Hassan's voice came back, distorted by interference from the anomaly. "Get back inside the shield network, Commander. All hell is about to break loose." Maya pushed the engines beyond safety limits, racing back toward Earth's protective umbrella. Behind them, the assembly fleet engaged the hive ships that hadn't yet been consumed by the anomaly. It was chaos, a desperate last stand against something neither side truly understood. As they approached Earth, Maya noticed something strange. The shield network was changing, pulsing with new patterns of energy she'd never seen before. "What's happening to the shields?" she asked as they slipped. Through one of the secret access points, no one answered. Instead, her ship's communication system picked up a broadcast being transmitted to every human settlement, ship, and station. It was Ambassador Chen. "People of Earth and her colonies," Chen began, her voice steady despite the circumstances. "For 3 centuries, we believed the Galactic Assembly represented cooperation, progress, and peace. We were wrong." Maya guided her ship toward Lunar Base, half listening to the broadcast. "The Assembly has known about the threat we now face, a fundamental breakdown in the structure of our reality, for over 1,000 years. They have sacrificed countless species, countless worlds, to slow its advance while they searched for a solution." "What is she talking about?" Econ wondered. Maya had a sinking feeling she knew exactly what Chen was talking about. "Today, humanity will not be sacrificed," Chen continued. "Instead, we will do what the Assembly could not. We will face this threat directly." On Mars, Dr. Ilara Watson activated her prototype. Throughout human space, the shield network began to transform, its energy patterns shifting from defensive to offensive. The shields weren't just barriers anymore. They were becoming something else entirely. "For decades, we have been developing technology beyond anything the Assembly could imagine," Chen explained to the billions watching. "Technology that can not only protect us from this cosmic cancer, but potentially heal it." Maya landed her ship at Lunar Base and raced to command. Admiral Hassan met her at the door. "You need to see this," he said, leading her to a secure observation room. Through the viewport, Maya could see Earth, but not as she'd ever seen it before. The shield network was now visible as a shimmering lattice of energy surrounding the Yao planet, pulsing with complex patterns that hurt her eyes to look at. "What is this?" she breathed. "The real reason we left the assembly," Hassan replied. "Project Prometheus, the ability to rewrite the laws of physics within a defined space." Part 5. Sound of energy building, a high-pitched whine growing in intensity. The assembly fleet had broken through the hive's defensive line and was approaching Earth's orbit. At their head was an enormous crystalline vessel, the Arbitrator flagship. Ambassador Chen stood on the command deck of the orbital platform Unity, watching the approaching ships with calm resolve. Behind her, the World Council members waited in tense silence. "They're hailing us," reported the communications officer. Chen nodded. "Put them through." Arbitrator Zex's crystalline face appeared on the main screen, its features arranged in what passed for anger among its kind. "What have you done?" it demanded. "The energy signatures emanating from your shield network. They're interfering with the containment protocols we've established." "Containment?" Chen laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call sacrificing world after world to slow this thing down? How many species have you led to extinction, Arbitrator?" Zex's eyes flashed. "You understand nothing. The false vacuum collapse cannot be stopped, only contained. We've managed it for millennia, preserving the core worlds of the assembly." "At the cost of everyone else," Chen countered. "Well, humanity won't be your next sacrifice. On Mars, Ilara." Watson monitored the readings from her prototype with growing excitement. The shield network was performing beyond her wildest expectations, extending its influence toward the spatial anomaly at the edge of the solar system. "It's working," she told Rai. "The quantum field is stabilizing." Rai pointed to another set of readings. "But the power requirements are off the charts. The network can't sustain this level of output for more than a few hours." Ilara's excitement dimmed. "Then we need to work faster." In Lunar Command, Maya studied the tactical displays showing the assembly fleet's formation. Something wasn't right. The ships were arranging themselves in a pattern that didn't make tactical sense. Unless... "They're not here to fight us," she realized suddenly. "This is a ritual, a sacrifice." She turned to Admiral Hassan. "Sir, I believe the assembly ships are planning to detonate themselves, to create a massive energy wave that will push the anomaly directly toward Earth." Hassan's face paled. "They would sacrifice their own people?" "The crews are probably automated," Maya speculated. "Or expendable clones. The arbitrators have always valued the greater good over individual lives." Hassan immediately opened a channel to Unity. "Ambassador, the assembly fleet is positioning for a mass detonation. They're going to direct the anomaly straight at us." On Unity's command deck, Chen received the warning with grim determination. "Just as we expected," she told the council members. "They've done this before, created artificial gravitational waves to steer the anomaly away from their precious core worlds. Can our shields withstand it?" asked President Okafor. "They won't have to," Chen replied. "Dr. Watson?" A hollow projection of Ilara appeared on the deck. "We're ready, Ambassador. The shield network has been fully reconfigured. On your command." Chen looked at each council member in turn, receiving nods of confirmation. This was humanity's moment of truth, the culmination of centuries of secret preparation. "Begin the sequence," Chen ordered. Throughout human space, the shield network's energy patterns changed again, becoming even more complex, more alien. The fabric of space-time within the network began to ripple and shift. Aboard his flagship, Arbitrator Zex watched in mounting horror as his sensors detected what humanity was attempting. "Impossible," he whispered. "They can't have developed this technology. No species has ever..." His words were cut off as the assembly ships began their synchronized detonation sequence. One by one, they exploded in carefully calculated patterns, creating gravitational waves that pushed the spatial anomaly directly toward Earth. But as the waves reached the edge of the shield network, something extraordinary happened. Instead of being overwhelmed, the network absorbed the energy, grew stronger. The anomaly, pulled by the gravitational waves, approached Earth. But instead of consuming the planet, it began to change. The shield network was rewriting the laws of physics within its influence, creating a pocket of stable spacetime that was spreading outward, engulfing the anomaly itself. "It's working!" Ilara's voice was filled with wonder. "The false vacuum is restabilizing." For a moment it seemed humanity had achieved the impossible, had succeeded where the ancient assembly had failed for millennia. Then everything went wrong. Part 6. Sound of alarms blaring, systems failing. Power fluctuations throughout the network. Rai shouted in the Mars laboratory. "The strain is too much, we're losing cohesion." Ilara frantically worked the controls, trying to stabilize the system. "Reroute power from the colony grid. We need to maintain the field integrity." But it was too late. Across human space, the shield network began to collapse. Not all at once, but in cascading failures that rippled from world to world. On Unity, Ambassador Chen watched in dismay as the status displays turned red one by one. "What's happening?" demanded Premier Liu. "The network wasn't designed to handle this much energy," Chen admitted. "We're losing it." As the shield network failed, the spatial anomaly, momentarily contained, began to expand again, more aggressively than before. Fragments of the Arbitrator flagship, caught in the distortion, twisted into impossible shapes before disappearing entirely. In Lunar Command, Maya made a split-second decision. "Sir," she addressed Admiral Hassan, "I need emergency authorization for Project Lazarus." Hassan looked at her sharply. "That's a theoretical last resort, Commander. It's never been tested." "Neither had the shield network until today," Maya countered. "We're out of options." After a moment's hesitation, Hassan nodded grimly. "Authorization granted. God help us all." Project Lazarus was humanity's ultimate fallback plan, a network of quantum-entangled devices planted on every human world. Originally designed as an emergency evacuation system, it could theoretically be repurposed. Maya raced to the special terminal that would activate the system. Her hands flew over the controls, reconfiguring the network on the fly. "What exactly are you planning?" Hassan asked, watching over her shoulder. "If we can't stop the anomaly," Maya explained without pausing her work, "we isolate ourselves from it, not just with shields, but by moving our worlds into a separate pocket of reality." Hassan's eyes widened. "You're talking about removing Earth and all our colonies from normal spacetime. That's insane." "Yes," Maya agreed, "but it's better than extinction." On Mars, Ilara Watson received Maya's transmission with shock. "She's activating Lazarus as a dimensional shift? That wasn't what it was designed for." "Will it work?" Rai asked. Ilara ran rapid calculations. "Maybe, if she can synchronize all the devices perfectly, but the energy backlash could be catastrophic." Throughout human space, people watched in terror, as the sky itself seemed to tear apart. The spatial anomaly was growing, consuming what remained of the assembly fleet. Only the failing shield network was slowing its advance toward Earth. On Unity, Chen received Maya's plan and immediately understood its implications. "Commander Rodriguez is attempting to save us by removing us from this reality entirely," she told the Council. "If it works, humanity will survive, but we'll be cut off from the galaxy forever." "And if it doesn't work?" asked President Okafor. Chen's expression was solemn. "Then we die knowing we tried everything possible." In Lunar Command, Maya completed the final adjustments to Project Lazarus. The system was never meant to be used this way. She was breaking every safety protocol, overriding every failsafe. But there was no choice. "Admiral," she said, her finger hovering over the activation control, "you should address the people. Tell them to hold on to something." Hassan nodded and opened a channel to all human settlements. "Citizens of Earth and her colonies, we face an unprecedented threat to our existence. Commander Rodriguez is about to activate a system that may save us, but the process will be disruptive. Secure yourselves and your loved ones. Whatever happens next, know that humanity faced this crisis together. Maya took a deep breath and pressed the activation control. For a single heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to shudder. Across human space, people felt a sensation like being turned inside out and back again. The stars visible from every human world suddenly shifted positions as space itself warped around them. In Mars' laboratory, Ilara watched in amazement as her instruments registered the impossible. Human worlds were phase-shifting out of normal space-time, creating a bubble of altered reality around themselves. "She did it," Ilara whispered. "She's actually moving us between dimensions." But the process wasn't stable. The quantum entanglement wasn't designed for this level of manipulation. The bubble of altered reality was fluctuating, threatening to collapse. "We need to stabilize it," Ilara shouted. "Rai, help me reconfigure the shield network to reinforce the dimensional boundary." On Luna, Maya watched the readings with growing despair. "It's not holding," she told Hassan. "We're slipping back into normal space, right into the path of the anomaly." Then from the communication system came an unexpected voice. Arbitrator Zex, human. The crystalline being's voice was distorted, barely recognizable. "I transferred my consciousness way into your network and before my ship was destroyed," the arbitrator explained. "I can help. Stabilize your dimensional shift, but you must trust me." "Why would you help us?" Maya demanded. There was a long pause before Zex answered. "Because in all my millennia, I have never seen a species try what you are attempting. You may succeed, where the assembly failed. The galaxy deserves that chance." Part 7. Sound of reality warping. Strange, otherworldly tones that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. With Arbitrator Zex's guidance, Maya reconfigured the Lazarus network. The ancient being's knowledge of dimensional physics was far beyond humanity's, allowing for refinements that stabilized the process. "Remarkable," Zex commented as they worked. "Your species developed this technology independently. The assembly believed such advancements were thousands of years beyond you." "We've had good motivation," Maya replied grimly. "Nothing accelerates progress like the threat of extinction." Across human space, the dimensional bubble began to stabilize. Earth, Luna, Mars, and all human colonies shimmered on the edge of reality. Neither fully in normal space-time nor completely separated from it. "We're achieving equilibrium," Ilara reported from Mars. "The dimensional boundary is self-reinforcing now." On Unity, Ambassador Chen and the World Council watched through viewports as the stars outside took on a strange, ghostly quality. They were seeing normal space through the veil between dimensions. "What exactly is happening?" Premier Liu asked. "Are we still in the same universe?" "Yes and no," Chen explained. "We exist in a pocket of altered reality, a bubble where different physical laws apply. We can observe the normal universe, but we're protected from the false vacuum collapse." "And the assembly? The rest of the galaxy?" President Okafor inquired. Chen's expression darkened. "They're on their own now, just as they left us." In Lunar Command, Maya monitored the final stages of the dimensional shift with Zex's ghostly presence hovering near her. "It is done," the arbitrator announced. "Your worlds now exist in what my people would call a phase shift state, partially removed from normal spacetime but still connected by quantum threads." "Can we ever go back?" Maya asked. Zex's crystalline features arranged themselves in what might have been sadness. "No, the phase shift is permanent. To attempt reversal would to stabilize both realities now." Maya absorbed this with a nod. Humanity was now truly isolated, not just politically separated from the assembly, but physically removed from the galaxy they had once called home. "What about the anomaly?" she asked. "The false vacuum collapse?" "It continues to spread in normal space," Zex confirmed. "Without your intervention, it will eventually consume much of the galaxy. Perhaps the assembly will find another solution. Perhaps not." Admiral Hassan, who had been listening silently, finally spoke. So we've saved ourselves, but left the rest of the galaxy to its fate. The assembly left countless species to this fate before you, Zex reminded him. For millennia, they have sacrificed the young races to buy time for themselves. That doesn't make it right, Maya said quietly. No, Zex agreed. It does not. 1 month later, Maya stood on the observation deck of Unity Station with Ambassador Chen, watching the ghostly image of the galaxy beyond their dimensional bubble. The spatial anomaly had grown, consuming much of the outer rim of the galaxy. The assembly core worlds, protected by ancient technology, remained safe. For now. They're sending signals, Maya noted, pointing to the flickering patterns visible across the dimensional boundary, trying to communicate with us. Let them try, Chen said coldly. They had centuries to treat us as equals. Now they can experience what it's like to be abandoned. Maya wasn't so sure. We're not like them, Ambassador. We don't sacrifice others to save ourselves, don't we? Chen turned to face her. We've sealed ourselves away in this pocket universe, leaving the rest of the galaxy to face the anomaly alone. We tried to stop it, Maya countered. We nearly destroyed ourselves in the attempt. That's more than the assembly ever did. Before Chen could respond, an alert sounded. Dr. Watson was requesting an emergency conference. Moments later, Ilara's hologram appeared before them, her expression excited. Ambassador, Commander, I've made a discovery. The dimensional boundary isn't just protecting us from the anomaly, it's affecting it. Affecting it how? Chen asked sharply. Ilara displayed a series of complex readings. The quantum threads connecting our phase-shifted reality to normal space are actually stabilizing the false vacuum in their vicinity. The anomaly's expansion has slowed significantly near our dimensional bubble. Maya leaned forward, studying the data. Are you saying we might still be able to stop it? Not stop it, Ilara clarified, but contain it, perhaps even gradually reverse it. If we could establish more quantum threads at strategic points, we'd need help, Chen pointed out. We can't leave our dimensional bubble to place the threads. No, Maya agreed. But maybe the assembly can, with guidance from Arbitrator Zex. Chen looked skeptical. Why would they listen to us now? Because we have something they don't, Maya said. A solution. In the Mars laboratory, Arbitrator Zex's consciousness had been transferred to a more stable housing, a crystalline matrix similar to his original form. He reviewed Ilara's findings with growing excitement. This could work, he confirmed. The phase shift technology, combined with the assembly's containment protocols, might actually reverse the false vacuum collapse, but it would require unprecedented cooperation. Will they listen to you? Ilara asked. Zex's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been laughter. I am an arbitrator. They have no choice but to listen. The question is whether humanity is willing to help those who abandoned them. On Unity, the World Council debated this very question. The chamber was divided. Many leaders wanted nothing more to do with the assembly that had betrayed them. Why should we save them? Demanded Premier Liu. Let them face the consequences of their actions. Because if we don't, President Okafor countered, we're no better than they are. We became isolated to survive, not to watch others perish when we could help. Ambassador Chen, who had once been the strongest advocate for isolation, stood silent for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. We left the assembly because they sacrificed others to save themselves, she said quietly. If we refuse to help now, we become what we despised. The council chambers fell silent as her words sank in. Very well, President Okafor said at last. We will offer our assistance, but on our terms. Part 8. 2 weeks later, Maya Rodriguez found herself in the strangest meeting of her career. On one side of the dimensional boundary stood the assembled leadership of humanity. On the other, visible as shimmering projections, where the High Council of Bounty, the Galactic Assembly, arbitrator Zex's consciousness, projected into both realities simultaneously, served as the bridge between worlds. The human solution is viable, Zex was explaining to the Assembly representatives. Their phase shift technology, combined with our containment protocols, can create a network of stabilized points throughout the galaxy. The quantum threads between these points will gradually reverse the false vacuum collapse. And what do the humans want in exchange for this assistance? Asked the Myrlin Prime, a gaseous being whose swirling form betrayed skepticism. Ambassador, Chen stepped forward. Acknowledgement. The Assembly will formally recognize that it was wrong to sacrifice younger species. It will establish new protocols ensuring all members receive equal protection in the face of galactic threats. And reparations, added President Okafor, for Proxima Centauri and all other worlds abandoned by the Assembly. The Assembly representatives conferred among themselves, their projected forms flickering with agitation. These terms are unprecedented, the Centauri chair finally replied. The Assembly has never admitted error. Then perhaps it's time it did, Chen countered. Or would you prefer to face the anomaly alone? The decision, when it came, was reluctant, but inevitable. The Assembly agreed to humanity's terms. Operation Bridgework, the joint human assembly effort to contain the false vacuum collapse, began immediately. From their phase-shifted reality, humans provided the theoretical framework and technical specifications. The Assembly, with its vast resources and reach across normal space, implemented the hardware. At key points throughout the galaxy, special installations were constructed, bridges between dimensions that anchored the quantum thread stabilizing reality. Each installation required precise calibration, guided remotely by human scientists like Alara Watson. Maya found herself working closely with Admiral Hassan and, surprisingly, Arbitrator Zex. The ancient being's knowledge proved invaluable as they navigated the complexities of cross-dimensional physics. I have existed for 12,000 of your years, Zex confided to Maya during a rare quiet moment. In all that time, I never imagined working alongside a species the Assembly had written off as primitive. Never underestimate the primitive, Maya replied with a hint of a smile, especially when you back them into a corner. Across the dimensional boundary, the Assembly was keeping its word, for now. Reports filtered back of new protective measures being extended to younger species, of evacuation protocols being shared equally among all members. They're afraid of us, Chen observed during a briefing with Maya and Hassan. They fear what else we might have developed in secret. Good, Hassan said bluntly. Fear is a powerful motivator for change. 6 months into Operation Bridgework, the results were promising. The quantum thread network was stabilizing, the false vacuum collapse slowing in affected regions. For the first time in millennia, the existential threat to the galaxy was being contained. But on Mars, Dr. Watson made a troubling discovery. The phase shift is changing, she reported to Maya during an encrypted call. Our dimensional bubble is evolving. Evolving how? Maya asked. Ilara's expression was troubled. We're drifting further from normal space-time. The quantum threads are still connecting us, but the separation is growing. If this continues, communication with the Assembly will become increasingly difficult. Is there any way to stop it? I don't know, Ilara admitted. This is uncharted territory. We're the first species to exist in this state. The implications were clear. Humanity's isolation might become even more complete. The phase shift that had saved them might eventually cut them off entirely from the galaxy they had once called home. Maya brought this news to Ambassador Chen and the World Council. The response was mixed. Perhaps this is for the best, Premier Lo suggested. Complete separation would ensure our security. But at what cost? President Okafor countered. Would we become like the ancient arbitrators, so removed from the rest of the galaxy that we forget what it means to be part of it? Maya found herself increasingly troubled by these questions. Late one night, unable to sleep, she wandered to the observation deck of Lunar Base. The Earth hung in the viewport, beautiful and serene, while beyond it, the ghostly image of the galaxy shimmered through the dimensional veil. "Beautiful, isn't it?" came a voice from behind her. Maya turned to find Arbitrator Zex's crystalline form hovering nearby. The alien consciousness had taken to wandering the human facilities, learning about the species that had achieved what his own could not. "Yes," she agreed, "but it feels increasingly distant." "It is," Zex confirmed. "Your phase shift continues to deepen. Soon, you may be able to observe normal space, but direct interaction will become impossible." "Is that what you want?" Maya asked. "For humanity to vanish into its own pocket universe, leaving the assembly to continue as before?" Zex's crystalline form pulsed with complicated emotions. "What I want is irrelevant. I am an arbitrator, the last of my kind. My purpose has always been to preserve galactic stability, even at the cost of entire civilizations." "Yes," Zex admitted. "That was our way. But perhaps we were wrong." The admission, from a being so ancient and powerful, stunned Maya into silence. "Your species has shown me that there are alternatives to sacrifice," Zex continued. "That cooperation, even among vastly different beings, is possible. It is a lesson the Assembly needs to learn. They won't learn it if we disappear entirely," Maya pointed out. "No," Zex agreed. "They will not." Part 9. Sound of a crystalline chime, clear and resonant. In the Mars laboratory, Alara Watson worked tirelessly to understand the evolving phase shift. The dimensional boundary was becoming more defined, more permanent. The quantum threads connecting human space to the normal galaxy were thinning. "We're approaching a threshold," she explained during an emergency council session. "Soon the phase shift will become irreversible. We'll exist in a separate pocket of reality permanently, with no possibility of return." "How long do we have?" Chen asked. 3 weeks, maybe less." The council chambers erupted in debate. Some argued for embracing the complete separation, securing humanity's future in isolation. Others insisted on finding a way to maintain connection with the galaxy. In the midst of this debate, Maya received a strange request from Arbitrator Zex. The ancient being asked to meet her alone in the most secure facility on Luna. When she arrived, she found Zex's crystalline form pulsing with unusual intensity. "Commander Rodriguez," the arbitrator began, "I have a proposal, one that I have shared with no one else." "I'm listening," Maya said cautiously. "The assembly is changing," Zex explained. "Your phase shift technology, the quantum thread network, these innovations have forced a re-evaluation of millennia-old policies. But this change is fragile. If humanity disappears completely, the assembly will likely revert to its old ways." "And you don't want that to happen," Maya surmised. Sound of distant stars, ethereal and haunting. "No," Zex confirmed. "I believe the galaxy is at a pivotal moment. The false vacuum collapse threatened all existence. The solution required cooperation between the assembly and a species it had dismissed. This lesson must not be lost." "What are you proposing?" Zex's form seemed to hesitate. "I possess knowledge, the accumulated wisdom of 12,000 years as an arbitrator. I know of a potential method to stabilize your phase shift at its current level. Humanity would remain partially separated, but the connection to normal space would be preserved." "Why tell only me?" Maya asked. "Why not take this to the council?" "Because there is a cost," Zex replied. "The stabilization would require an anchor, a consciousness existing simultaneously in both realities. I am offering myself for this purpose." Maya stared at the crystalline being. "You would sacrifice yourself? Why?" "Because it is the right thing to do," Zex said simply. "My species has lived too long in isolation, making decisions that affected billions without truly understanding them. It is time for a new approach." The proposal went to the World Council, sparking intense debate. Many were suspicious of Zex's motives. Others saw a genuine opportunity for a new relationship with the galaxy. "Can we trust him?" Premier Liu demanded. "This being was part of the assembly that abandoned us. He helped us when we needed it most," Maya countered. "And now, he's offering to ensure we don't become what we despised, isolated, aloof, forgetting what it means to be part of something larger." In the end, the decision came down to a single vote. Ambassador Chen, once the strongest advocate for complete isolation, cast the deciding ballot in favor of Zex's proposal. "We left the assembly because they sacrificed others," she said, echoing her earlier words. "We should not sacrifice our connection to the galaxy out of fear." The procedure took place in Alara's Mars laboratory. The quantum technology required was beyond anything humanity had developed, guided by Zex's ancient knowledge and implemented by human hands. As the final preparations were made, Maya spoke privately with Zex one last time. "Are you certain about this?" she asked. "Your consciousness will be forever split between our reality and normal space." Zex's crystalline form pulsed gently. "In my long existence, I have never been more certain of anything. My people evolved beyond physical form eons ago, becoming beings of pure thought. But in doing so, we lost something vital: connection. You humans, for all your short lives and physical limitations, understand connection in ways we forgot. And this will help the assembly remember?" "It is my hope," Zex replied. "A being existing in both realities, serving as a constant reminder that isolation is not the answer." The procedure began. Throughout human space, people watched as the dimensional boundary, visible as a shimmering curtain across the sky, began to stabilize. The drift toward complete separation slowed, then stopped entirely. In Mars' laboratory, Zex's crystalline form changed, expanding, fragmenting, then reforming into a more complex structure. Part of his consciousness transferred into the quantum network itself, becoming one with the fabric that connected human space to the normal galaxy. When it was done, Zex still existed as a discrete entity, but he was also part of something larger. "The bridge between worlds, how do you feel?" Alara asked, concerned. Zex's new form pulsed with what might have been laughter. "I feel connected. For the first time in millennia." The assembly, observing from their side of the dimensional boundary, was transformed by these events. The sight of an arbitrator, one of their most ancient and revered members, sacrificing his singular existence for connection, shook them to their core. Throughout the galaxy, change began to spread. The assembly reformed its structure, giving equal voice to younger species. The protective technologies once reserved for core worlds were shared widely. The quantum thread network, initially created to contain the false vacuum collapse, became a galaxy-wide communication system. Human ships, specially designed to navigate the dimensional boundary, began limited expeditions into normal space. Assembly representatives, similarly equipped, made tentative visits to human worlds. Epilogue. Sound of a new beginning. Gentle, hopeful music. 1 year after Zex's sacrifice, Maya Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Nexus Station, a massive facility built precisely on the dimensional boundary, allowing beings from both realities to meet face to face. Ambassador Chen joined her, looking out at the streams of ships arriving for the first galactic Concord, a new organization replacing the old assembly, founded on principles of equal protection and mutual aid. "Not bad for a species that abandoned the assembly in dread," Chen remarked with a hint of irony. Maya smiled slightly. "We didn't abandon them. We just needed some space to figure things out." "A lot of space," Chen agreed. "An entire dimension's worth." Beyond the station viewports, the galaxy looked different now. The false vacuum collapse had been contained, leaving scars across space-time that would never fully heal. But those scars were stable, the quantum threads holding reality together. Humanity remained partially phase-shifted, existing in a state between dimensions that gave them unique perspective on the universe. They could never fully return to normal space, but neither were they completely isolated. Through the dimensional veil, Maya could see the ghostly form of Zex, now more energy than matter, spread throughout the quantum network. He had become the living bridge between worlds, ensuring that neither humanity nor the Assembly would ever again retreat into destructive isolation. "Do you regret it?" Chen asked suddenly. "Any of it?" Maya considered the question carefully. The past year had brought challenges, adaptation, and a fundamentally altered existence for every human being, but it had also brought a new place in the galaxy, not as supplicants to ancient powers but as equals. No, she decided. Sometimes you have to leave to find a better way back. Together, they watched as representatives from 1,000 worlds, some physical, some appearing as holograms, some existing as patterns of light or sound or concepts. Human minds could barely grasp, gathered for the beginning of something new. The galaxy had watched in dread as humanity abandoned the Assembly. Now it watched in hope as both returned, changed but stronger for the journey. Fade out on the image of Nexus Station, a gleaming structure balanced perfectly between realities, with ships from across the galaxy approaching from both sides of the dimensional boundary.